Hey guys, it's time for a garden tour. It's the end of the month, which I've been last couple of months. I've done it at the end of the month, so you can see the progression. What I'm also going to do, because we may not all be on the same schedule, so what I'm going to do is put up some before shots of the end of May garden tour so that you can compare to now, so you can see kind of what yours might look like, and then maybe if you're behind me, you might see what it's going to look like in 30 days. So let me know what you think of that format. We're going to start out here in the cottage garden. And what I did to prepare for this video is I watched last month's garden tour. And I was really shocked at how much things have grown, because I actually thought things were growing kind of slow. It's not till you look back and realize, it's kind of when you go on vacation and you come back and the garden looks way bigger than when you left. Same idea. So I'm going to show this area before, and you can see just how much this is filled in. They were so tiny. I think I had only planted them a couple of weeks prior to that garden tour. So now take a look at the same area. Everything is filling in. The Ammumagus is starting to bloom. It's a member of the carrot family, and you can probably tell if you've seen carrots bloom before. We've got lots of dahlias showing color. All the dahlias are really doing well. Now here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sunflowers that were not planted by me. They were planted by squirrels, but I left them. Oh, 8. And here we've got Nicotiana, however you want to pronounce that. This is flowering tobacco. It smells tropical. Like if you've ever smelled a plumeria before, that's what that smells like. So I've got pink, and then back here I've got white. I really wish you could smell that. This clary sage is going for it. Look at this. These leaves are enormous, and look at these buds just getting ready to bloom. My delphiniums, I'm going to have a lot more delphiniums next year. I'll grow them from seed. These were just from garden center transplants, but we've got a really tall one coming along here. And in the last video, I showed you the sweet peas. They were just starting to bloom, and I was hoping to get some more blooms out of them before the hot weather came to kill them, and I really definitely am. Another thing I wish you guys could smell, but if you've grown sweet peas, you know how good that smell is. Got a few different yarrows growing out here. This is Cerise Queen, I believe. It's kind of a pink with a very pale yellow center. Down here we've got a darker colored one. This is New Vintage Violet. And I gotta say, these snapdragons, which I grew from seed, this is Apple Blossom. I didn't even remember that I had a second one, but anyway. I started these seeds back in the fall, and they lived through all that hail we had, and now they're really just putting on a show. This is the one dahlia here in the cottage garden that's really blooming so far. This is Rebecca Lynn. Got several blooms on that and lots of buds. Now you might have seen our last video where I showed you the path and the stairs that we completed. I also talked about having a lawn up both sides, and a lot of you said to go with clover, and yeah, you'd said that before, and I looked into it, and I'm going to be doing a mix of micro clover and grass. And so with that mix, it should stay green with low water usage. Micro clover handles foot traffic well, so I'm looking forward to it. I'd never heard of it before you guys mentioned it. It's one of the reasons I love this channel. I got ideas from you guys, and it's also going to be watered with drip. There is an underground or an under turf drip system available that I'm going to be getting and trying out. I'll let you guys all know how that goes. Something that is different from the last time is this area here, both on this side and right over here, which is our pumpkin patches. And I did this video of planting these pumpkins, what was that, 2 weeks ago maybe? So you can see they're all doing well. I've pulled a few of them out of the tool because I think they're big enough now to not be tempting to the squirrels and rabbits, but I did leave some underneath just in case. You know what? I did not realize this blackberry had some ripe ones. I think we need to do a live taste test right here. I've never had a thornless blackberry before. So let's see, because I would love to grow thornless because I've always only grown thorned blackberries and they're not that fun to work with, but they are really sweet and delicious. All right, so let's see. No way. That is good. This is Ponca, P-O-N-C-A. That's the variety here. Super sweet, really sweet. The seeds are a little bit bigger than the thornless blackberry that I have, which is the Olala berry. But wow, I am really impressed and really happy. I might even forego my Olala berries for that one. Because like I said, thorns are hard to work with. Speaking of thorns, our David Austin roses are having a great time blooming. This is Vanessa Bell. It's kind of it starts out just a creamy yellow and then turns to kind of a creamy white as it ages. This so far has been the best performer. This is Olivia Rose Austin. Now these roses will get bigger and better formed as they age. These are first year plants, at least here growing with me. And so I think next year they'll even look better than this. They'll get bigger, of course, the plant and the flowers as well. And this one's Anne Boleyn. She does not have any blooms right now. She's got a couple of buds. I thought it was so funny when I was doing the deadheading video and I said I needed to deadhead Anne Boleyn, and I didn't even catch it, but several of you caught the irony in that. So while we're out here in the cottage garden, I want to update you on the pots, the blueberry pots that I have going up the driveway. A couple of weeks ago, they looked like this. The pansies in them just were not liking life and they just weren't doing well at all. And so a couple weeks ago I did a video on planting these up, and they are really filling in, really filling. I've even got a few blueberries on here. That one actually looks ripe. I had no idea this was going to be a taste testing video. So this is Jubilee. This is the variety. It's good. A bit tart compared to the blackberry. Now, of course, as those plants get older, they too will get bigger and have more berries. They really shouldn't even have had berries this year. It's quite early. All right, now for the vegetable garden. Before we talk about the plants, let's first talk about the hardscape. In the last tour, all of the walls had holes in the top. They still did not have their capstones on. But now, all of the capstones are in. Also in the last tour, I was finishing up these stairs. They didn't have their capstones either. And now, this lower section does. I ran out of the masonry adhesive, so this upper section does not have the capstones on it yet. All right, starting up here on the top terrace, let's take a look at the espaliate fruit trees first. Got our Fuji apple. It's filling in with leaves, and a little bit of new summer growth. Our Black Mission fig. And this is Anna with one apple on it. It's kind of early to be fruiting. It's a small tree, but I'll take one apple. Now, before the last tour, I said don't expect too much. I didn't have time to keep it neat and tidy. It was kind of a mess. This time it is pretty neatened up. And so the difference is, though, is that the last tour, we had so much cool weather that I was still enjoying my cool season plants. All the way up through June until last week, we were still having cool weather here, really cool. It's just now getting into the upper 70s, and then next week it's getting into the 80s. So right now, the cool season crops, some of them are still in. I have harvested a lot of them. Some of them are still in and still think the weather's cool enough, but you can see some of them are on their way out because they're feeling that warmth coming and they want to make an exit. So first of all, on this upper terrace, we'll start with the cucumbers. During the last tour, they were very, very small. And now they are nice, lush, green, little baby cucumbers all over them. Now I grow mine up my tomato hooks because I get them up off the ground. There's less chance of them being eaten that way. It's easier to find them before they get so huge that they're not really edible anymore. And so the advantage of these, and you can get these on our website, but the advantage of these is once these vines reach the top of the trellis, you can just take this hook off, let out a little bit of string, and it lowers the entire plant down so that it can grow taller. It doesn't just reach the top and you have to stop it from growing. Now, I've been told by several of you that I have not done a how-to video, how to grow video on cucumbers, which I can't believe, but you are right, I haven't. So I will be doing one of those very soon. On this side, we have our tomatoes, which I just planted, what was that, a couple weeks ago. They weren't in on the last tour. And on the last video, they did not look good. They had been in those solo cups for a long time, way too long. But I told you in that video that once they get in the ground, they will do just fine, and they are. They've greened up, they're growing nicely. So it's quite a bit later than I've done tomatoes. However, with the cool weather, you know, sometimes those things can't be helped. So moving down to the next terrace. In our strawberry and asparagus bed, the asparagus is just continuing to put up new fronds, which it will do all season long, and you just let it do its thing, and in a couple of years you can start harvesting. Right now, this is just going to be producing all these fronds, collecting all that solar energy to expand the root system and the crown so that it can start producing a lot more. That's why we wait a couple of years, because you don't want to take away from that energy. You want it to put all that energy into the roots, and then in a couple of years, when it's nice and strong, you can start harvesting, and it will be able to be harvested for 15 or more years. The in-ground strawberries are doing great. I've been pulling off the runners. This is a runner. And all the way up through the end of June, I will pull these off. There's 3 right here that I missed. And what that does is that just puts more energy, I can't do it with one hand, puts more energy into the mother plant to develop its roots, just like with the asparagus, but also develop the fruit that it's going to try to do. This just puts more energy into growth. Now, starting next month, I will let these grow, and then you can stick this part in a little bit of soil, either here or in a little pot. You can stick a bobby pin over it and weight it down, or make sure that this part right here has contact with the soil, and within just a couple of weeks it will have roots. And then you can sever this stem here and take that plant away and plant it somewhere else. My pole beans and my bush beans are not doing much. I don't know what the deal is. I mean, these were in here a month ago in the last tour, and they don't, well, they look a little bit bigger. The bush beans don't, and they don't even look healthy. So I don't know, we'll see what happens. This yellow squash, Golden Glory, is glorious. We have eaten a lot of this already. It is so tender. There's very few seeds. Just cook it with some butter and salt and mash it all up, and it's one of my favorite summer crops is yellow squash, and this is a good one. I still have my chives blooming. I think they've been blooming now for about 2 months. They go all the way down, and the other day I came out here and trimmed off some of the dead ones, and I'm doing this to save the seeds. Look, you can see all the little, you just shake this, and all these little black seeds come out. They've been so pretty and so productive that why not grow a lot more and make an entire hedge of them? Our green zucchini is looking great. I've already harvested lots of that. This is Dunja, D-U-N-J-A. And this is the size that I like to harvest them at. Oh man. See, one-handed gardening is not so easy. But that's about as big as I want them to get. And then here is those bush beans. This is dragon tongue. You can see there is little baby beans on here, but man, they don't look much bigger than in the last video. And these look sickly. They kind of look like they had spider mite damage, but I don't see any evidence of that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Now this next bed is something to write home about. This is my onion bed. And we still have the nasturtiums going strong. They are starting to peter out a little bit. I think they feel that hot weather coming. But look at these onions. These are huge, absolutely huge. And these aren't the biggest ones. These ones here in front, if you remember, I did an experiment where I cut the leaves off of this front section here to see if what I'd heard was true, that it makes the onions grow bigger. Well, I don't think it is true. At least not in this situation. Obviously, this isn't a scientifically valid experiment, but if you compare these, which I did cut, to these, which I didn't, these are bigger. And take a look at this monstrosity. Look at that, compared to my hand. That's like the biggest onion I've ever seen. That's amazing. So these are not quite ready to harvest yet. When the next break over and fall over, that's when you know they're ready to harvest. So these have just a little bit longer. So I wonder how big that's actually gonna get. The last thing on this terrace is our sweet potato beds. I have 2 of them. And if you remember in the last tour, this bed here were the new slips that I planted. And then this bed here were some sweet potatoes that were accidentally left when I harvested them before. So I've always wondered, can you just put a whole sweet potato in the ground and let it grow? Or do you need to grow the slips, cut the slips, root them, and then plant them? If this one works, that would save a lot of steps. So I will let you know at the end of the year. Make sure you're subscribed. All right, now to this crazy fennel. A lot of you in the last video were surprised that it was as big as it was 30 days ago. Now it's even bigger. I mean, this is like making me look small. I'm 6 feet tall. This is probably 7. I was out here earlier today and this was swarming with bees, ladybugs, hoverflies. I saw some parasitic wasps. I saw a lacewing. I mean, this thing just beckons them. Now here's some calendula that, yes, I should have been deadheading it more, but it's really on its way out now. Calendula is a cool season flower. However, I've got warm season flowers. I've got zinnias and cosmos over in seed trays ready to take their place. I'll probably leave these in another week and then swap them out with our hot weather flowers. Speaking of flowers, take a look at this. This is a leek flower. Now you can see they kind of remind you of garlic scapes. They just don't have that fancy little curl that garlic scapes have. But I planted these a little later than I should have, and I was wondering if they would even work. And the only ones that are really of good size are these 4 right here, maybe one over there. But they are starting to bloom. So you want to harvest them before, especially before this opens. Otherwise, they're going to get bitter and woody. So that's on the list for this week. Right here next to them, I took out some lettuce. I've got some green onions here. And I don't have any mulch where I took out the lettuce. Once I put some plants in here, which I think corn is going to be here, half a bed of corn there, half a bed of corn here. And so once I plant that, then I'll mulch that area. Now this bed here, which is asparagus in the back and carrots in the front. I told you in the last video that I was doing an experiment because here we have a dry climate. It's very hard to get carrots to germinate. That's the hardest part because they don't like to be covered up with anything. And so they dry out very quickly. You have to come out here 2 to 3 times a day and make sure they're constantly moist. So I made this into 2 sections. One section, I didn't cover the seed with any soil. I just covered it with vermiculite. And then I also, in the second section, covered it with no soil, but with pine shavings, the same thing that I mulch my beds with. Well, as you can see, we have carrots. This half They're under tool right now to protect them from the rabbits, but this half looks much better than this half. Now, when they germinated, the vermiculite half looked exactly the same as the wood shavings half. But as time went on, they had more insulation from the wood shavings, so they didn't dry out as quickly, so they got more moisture, and you can see what that has done. So from now on, I'm just going to put the seed out, put the pine shavings on top of them, and that's it. And that has been the best method that I've used so far to get that much germination. So down here on the bottom terrace, we've got some more onions. I've got some potatoes that actually came up volunteer from last season. Got a couple of squashes. And then this is my potato bed that I planted this season. Now, if you remember that those potatoes, I did 3 ways to plant potatoes. So one was in a container. One was the regular way of digging trenches and putting the potatoes in. And then one was the Ruth Stout method. Now, the one in the container got diseased, and so I harvested it early, but I actually got a fair amount of potatoes for as short of a growing time as it had. Now, it's kind of hard to check the ones in the ground. The plants are all looking a little bit ick, so harvest time is approaching quickly, and I'll do a separate video at that time. But these Ruth Stout potatoes, if you watch that video, remember, we just laid the potatoes on top of the ground and put the straw over them, and that's it. And the theory was that they would grow under the straw and produce more potatoes, and you don't have to dig to plant them, and you don't have to dig to harvest them. So if we dig down a little bit, we'll see what's going on. We have potatoes. Look, there's a big one right there. Look at, yeah, there's a purple one, a white one. You want to make sure they're not quite ready yet, but they are big, so I could pull them now, I'm sure. Let's check here. Whoa, look at that one. There's some red ones, bunch of red ones. I'm going to say the Ruth Stout method works, and I will probably be using that from now on. But I would say within a week or two, we'll do a harvest video, and I'll pull both types, and we'll see which one performed better. All right, a few months ago, we planted some lemon trees in these pots. And you can see we've got a bunch of new growth happening, and we've got little baby lemons. So over here in the Mediterranean herb garden, we've got our artichokes, and they're growing really well. Several of you asked me about electroculture, and that's what this is here. I've been trying it from this company who sent these to me. Now, so far, I don't see a difference. In fact, I'd say that's one of the smaller ones. So I'll keep you updated as the season goes along. I've also got them on my beans and squash, so we'll see what happens. Here is my green stalk tower with my strawberries. Doing really well. You see a red one over here? Not quite ready. I did want to show you one part of the tropical garden that I'm in love with. Look at this bed here, all of the bold colors. These cannas against the windows are so bold. The leaves are so dark. Then you've got the sun patience that have these deep colored leaves with the bold flowers. And something must be happening with this guy's drip. I will have to check into that. And then I've got this here, which the name escapes me, but look at these deep colored purple flowers. Now, I shimmied this over near this because it has the same look. This dahlia has such dark leaves, I mean almost black, and then these bright flowers. So I think what I'm going to do is Next year, I'll save this. This is my second year growing this one. I'll save the tubers. I'll divide them and put those in here with this. And I think that will look just amazing. We've got these beautiful elephant ears here and the white ginger. My plumerias are just starting to leaf out. You can see flower buds there and leaf buds. And then the monsteras are doing well, putting out lots of new leaves. I've got tuberous begonias that I planted last year that bloomed, and now they're coming up again all throughout here. Well, I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but that's really... Oh, one more thing. These pots on either side of the garage door. In the last tour, this one over here was not flowering. I thought it was too much shade, so I fertilized it. And now, I think it's doing its job. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the tour for the end of June, and we'll do another one the last Sunday of July. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Share it with a gardening friend, and I'll see you next time.